Southern Ontario sports fans, thank you so very much for checking out the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH media platform. I'm Bubba O'Neill. Southern Ontario sports is our thing because we are producing world-class athletes, teams, and executives. So remember to tell your friends to join the conversation. Keep liking and subscribing because we appreciate you. Now, sometimes in the sports world, an athlete earns the label as a late bloomer. In the growing sport of fencing, this Hamiltonian has climbed the ladder of success at her own pace. From her growing days at the Toronto Fencing Club to winning an NCAA national championship, Eleanor Harvey has had a fast track, or at least it thought was to have a fast track to dominating at the world level. But years later, she would end up doing something that no other Canadian has accomplished. In a social media post, Harvey once wrote, "So thankful to have this scrumptious sport in my life." Hey, from Lima, Peru, let's hook up with this Hamilton hero. So glad to have you on the Sportsline Podcast. How are things going on, Eleanor? I mean, you are in the midst of an unbelievable season.
Yeah, things are really, really good right now. Ever since the Olympics, so far, the season has been just going way better than I would have ever expected. So, yeah, I'm here in Peru right now, getting ready for the next major competition. And, you know, I always just try to focus on one at a time. So right now, that's all that's on my mind.
A lot of accolades. I mean, most recently, and I got to say congratulations, Golden Horseshoe Athlete of the Year. How does that sound and how does that feel?
Yeah, winning that's just so nice. Like, I always heard about that award when I was younger and really looked up to the athletes that I would see, even at things like the Breakfast of Champions that I would go to. I was always a big part of like the sports scene in Hamilton, and I've spent so much time there that when I leave, it's really nice to be recognized back in Hamilton.
Can we talk about what's happening in your Grand Prix season? We got 4 medals in 5 competitions, including Canada's first ever podium appearance, which is a gold, in which you have pulled off. That is outstanding. Congratulations. But what's led to the success this season?
Well, thank you. I've recently relocated after the Olympics. I moved to Vancouver, BC. So I'm training at a club there called Dynamo Fencing Club, which is definitely like the strongest place to train in Canada. But I think that has a lot to do with my success this season. I think also the Olympics was just such a big confidence booster. It showed me that I could perform in very high pressure situations. And it also kind of illuminated the way in which I want to approach all competitions, which is basically prepare as best you can. And then once you get there, embrace the competition, enjoy the feelings, but let go of the results.
Well, I see you ranked number 3 in the world in foil right now. Did you ever see yourself at this point? And is number 1 obviously still the goal?
Yeah, I've actually been ranked 3rd before. A couple seasons ago, I had another very strong season. So I was ranked 3rd, I think at the end of the 2022 season. So it feels really good to get back up there after, you know, falling down a bit and coming back. That's just the way sports works. But yeah, of course, my goal is to get as high as I can possibly go. I've committed my entire life to being as good as I can at fencing, especially for a Canadian. That's not an easy thing to do because there's not as many systems in place to support fencers. So I've kind of had to pave my own way, and I've had a lot of help, but I'm just seeing how far I can take it, and number 1 is always the goal.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because here we are, you as a student in high school at Westdale here in Hamilton. Can you talk to me about what you were like in that point of your life? What sports that you liked? Was it always fencing? Did you play other sports? And really, how did you get to fencing at a young age? Because that's just not a normal, I shouldn't say normal, but it's everyone's playing hockey, baseball. I think you know what I'm talking about here.
Yes. So yeah, I started fencing when I was 10. So
Wow.
All through middle school, all through high school, I was fencing. And even before I ever even touched a foil, I told my friends that I was going to go to the Olympics in fencing. So it was kind of my goal ever since I knew that fencing existed. I was like, this is my thing. I just kind of decided. So yeah, basically in high school, I really cared about like my grades and my friends and everything, but fencing was also a huge focus. I literally missed 50% of grade 12, and I had to have teachers that were very supportive and accepting of me, chasing my dreams. And all the teachers could see that I wanted to do well in school, and they wanted to support me even though I was like gone so much. So yeah, I would basically have a day of school. My grandma would pick me up. We would drive an hour and a half to Scarborough area, North York area, depending on where I was training. Sit through traffic. She'd make me dinner. I'd eat food in the car, study, train, drive back at around 9 or 10 p.m.
But it all translates into something really good, and that you end up at Ohio State University. And in those days, you were tremendously successful. Is that the point where you start to say, look, I can be really something important in this sport for our country?
Yeah. I think Ohio State really raised my level a lot. It was such a better structure in terms of what I needed to do to be a high-level fencer. Like before that, I was just a kid and I was making it up myself. I had coaches, but I didn't have really the same daily training environment that could really put me in a position to be a threat to high-level fencers from other countries. So in my third year at Ohio State, I qualified for my first Olympics. And at that Olympics, I had a best ever finish for Canada, which was 7th place at the time. And that was also a huge confidence booster and kind of kept me going. And yeah, eight and a half years later, we're still going strong.
It's an amazing path. And I look at your path and help me out here, and you tell me, 2018 looked like it was an important year for you, because here you are, now you're sort of competing on the world stage. Shanghai, you get a bronze. I mean, no Canadian, male or female, had ever been on the podium. And it was a tough loss, I know, to a Chinese opponent. But nonetheless, there you are, getting that bronze. Was that, again, another part of the growth process and a big year for you?
Yeah, that was huge for me. So that was the year that I graduated from Ohio State. And I knew that after that, I had 2 years until my next Olympics. So that result at the very end of my NCAA career felt like a really nice reward kind of for all the work that I had done leading up to that. So then after that, I moved back to Hamilton until 2020-ish. And was training in Hamilton and Toronto full time. That was the first time I was able to train full time for fencing, and it ended up actually not going super well. When I graduated from Ohio State, I was ranked 7th in the world, 7th or 8th, forget. And by that time the next year, I had like dropped a lot in the rankings to like 20 something. Which was really hard, because I was thinking, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm literally training full time and my results have gotten worse. And that was at a point when I was thinking of retiring. And I was quite sure that after the Olympics, I was going to retire, move on from fencing, and basically have nothing to do with fencing. But COVID hit, and that forced me to make a lot of adjustments. And through that, I ended up meeting my current coach, started working with a new coach, Alex Martin, who is still my coach till this day. And that completely changed things for me and reinvigorated my passion. And I very quickly regained my results internationally.
You know, in that 2020 year of you're hitting a crossroads, and you talk about retirement and doing something else. And was it just results oriented that had you sort of down on the sport, or were you burned out? You had enough. What happened in that year that made it? I don't know. Just you, as I said, you get to a crossroads.
Totally, yeah. So I think the results were the symptom, not the cause. So like the cause was that I really was not feeling so good in my training environment. I wasn't connecting with my coach at that time very well. He was a fine coach. It just the connection in our personalities wasn't there, and I didn't feel very like understood in my fencing style. And fencing it's very similar to a martial art. So there's a lot of individual expression that happens in the sport, and a lot of variation in styles. And my style is not the most conventional. It's not the prettiest, but it's my identity, and it what works for me. And I felt that I was being pushed to be in a completely different type of fencer. And I was trying to do that because I trusted the process, and I thought, okay, I'll try to do this. This is my coach. I'll do that. But it kind of led to me, not enjoying the training process, feeling very pressured to perform in this new way. And that's kind of what led to the results not being so good.
You talk about your style, just sort of reading up from other people that have kind of scouted your approach. Would you consider it rather defensive than really offensive?
Definitely growing up, my style was like much more defensive. I'm left-handed, and when I was a kid, I was very, very skinny and small. And so basically I would just, when people would attack me, I would just run away. And then they would get so mad that they couldn't reach me that they would accelerate too quickly, and I could counterattack. So I could make them kind of make a mistake and anger them into giving me an opening, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I think the essence of that like very raw, instinctive style that I had is definitely still at the core of my game today. At this point, I'm a much more well-rounded fencer. I'm a full-time athlete. I've taken time to develop all aspects of my game, and I'm extremely proud of how much I've developed my attack. I think I have a very, very strong attack now that my coach Alex has really, really brought out of me. I didn't know I could do something like that. But I think I always start in defense. I basically always start my bouts in defense, and I let the way to attack kind of come to me after I get a feel for how the opponent is moving.
So, new approach, you're invigorated for the sport, and as happy as you are about your game, it all kind of just blows up at the 2024 Olympics, where you win the bronze medal. Did you expect to be on the podium? Was this a surprise to you, or was this all part of the game plan? I mean, we talk about the late redemption, and this is just an unbelievable story.
No, I mean, I have had a lot of medals that come from tournaments that all the same people from the Olympics, they're all there. Actually, the Olympics is one of the smaller tournaments. It's, like 40-something people or something, whereas a World Cup or a Grand Prix sometimes has over 200 people.
Wow.
So it's a very, very condensed, narrow field where basically there's no room to hide. Everyone there is extremely good. I did not expect to win a medal. I really, really believed that I could. I knew that I could. I knew that it just came down to if I was able to perform at my level that day. And I think the team that I had leading up for the competition really, really allowed me to approach it my way. And the way that I wanted to approach it happened to be very in sync with how we all thought was the best way for me. And it worked out. Yeah, we took it pretty lighthearted after all the preparation was done, and really, really just embraced the experience and the heightened emotions that come with an Olympics.
certainly for all those, kind of Grand Prix events, there's a personal success, the family success. Of course, you're talking about your coaching. But when you won that medal, that bronze medal at the 2024 Olympics, that was early in the games for Canada. Did you expect, and what did that feel like to have the country know who Eleanor Harvey is?
Yeah, that 100% is something I've never experienced before. A lot of the time when I win a medal at a World Cup or a Grand Prix, I get a lot of messages from fencers, But this was the first time that I was truly inundated with messages from complete strangers, true sport fans, people that had said I have never watched fencing before, and I love it now. I'm going to watch it every Olympics. And some really touching messages from parents with little kids, especially little girls who were watching, 4 or 5-year-old little girls from Canada being like, oh, I'm going to do fencing because I saw you. That's really special. That makes me feel like I'm contributing to the future of the sport. And that's something I'm very passionate about, is being a positive experience in the sporting journey of young Canadian fencers.
With all the success that you've had, the ups and the downs, as we've went through, there's been some downs as well too. There's always a mentor. There's always a bit of a motivator. And from what I believe, it sounds like your mom has had a very, very important part of your success. Yes,
definitely. She actually just called me 1 minute ago. I just had to press decline. But yeah, she is someone that has made so many choices in her life that if she hadn't made, there's a 0% chance that I would have been able to become the athlete that I am today. Yeah, she made the decision so early on in my athletic career. I think I was 13 or 14 that she couldn't afford to send me to all these competitions. She couldn't afford all the coaching. So she sold her house. We moved in with my grandma into her apartment, and we used that money to continue to fund my fencing journey. And I think that's something that it was a huge swing and something that I really value. And in that way, she's such a role model to me that when you believe in something, that you do everything you can to chase it. And even if it's something as strange as fencing, she could feel my fire and my passion, and she was right. It's going great.
And when you see her, I mean, I know obviously because you're in Europe and South America, when you guys do get together and you do come home, what kind of feelings are there, knowing all that you've gone through?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think I can just feel how happy she is for me, and how much my happiness in this endeavor means to her. She loves just reminiscing, talking about things that we would do in the past, driving to Rimouski, picking me up after school and driving to small, tiny places that were hosting fencing tournaments, and talking about how I used to bring my hedgehog to fencing competitions, or all types of funny things from the past that I think she's just kind of coming to terms with the fact that she's read a lot of memoirs of high level athletes or documentaries, and I think she's coming to terms with the fact that I have become one of those athletes that is a very high level successful athlete, and I think it's just really exciting and cool for her.
Got to be a proud moment. I've also discovered that you, outside of fencing, outside of school, there are other things that, and I guess we need things to motivate us and sometimes step away from the actual sport that you dedicate so many hours to. But it appears that there's another love, and I'm going to call it the Lenny Garb Clothing Company. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah. So that came from my love of art. So something that's always been a huge part of my life is art. I love drawing and watercolor and stuff like that. So um, when the shutdown happened for COVID, I wasn't able to like go to the fencing club or anything. So I decided to dedicate some energy to trying to sell some clothes with my design on it. So basically, I would take Canadian-made clothes and like secondhand clothes and get my designs silk screened or embroidered onto the clothes, and then I would sell them online. So yeah, that's something I did for maybe a year or so during COVID, during the shutdowns and everything, and it was really exciting. It was really cool and fun. It was kind of a learning experience and a completely different thing than, the sport of stabbing people is, it's completely different. So I'm not like doing it anymore because I just don't have the time. But I still love doing art and drawing and everything like that. So that's always a big part of my life.
Will you go back to it? I mean, obviously you love the fashion aspect of it.
I'm not sure. Maybe. Honestly, at this point, I'm pretty. My time is pretty like devoted to being at the fencing club because I'm also coaching as well. So when I'm not training, I'm coaching, and when I'm not doing either of those things, like before I head to the club that day, by the time I get to fencing, I've already worked out a couple times usually. So I have a pretty strict like schedule in terms of that. And I feel my balance is quite good at the time being and don't want to like mess with it too much, but who knows for the future.
So the future is an interesting word that you leave off there. I'm going to say 2028 LA Summer Olympics. Are you going to be there?
I sure hope so. That's the goal. It would be amazing to go to my fourth Olympics, especially because I really, really believe in my team. So at the Olympics, there's the individual event, which obviously I care about a lot, but there's also the team event. And our team has never won a World Cup medal, ever. And we've been close so many times. At the Olympics, we got fourth. At the last two World Cups, we've gotten fourth. But my team is, other than me, they're all teenagers. And so they're extremely talented, amazing athletes, but we need more experience as a team. And so what really drives me towards LA 2028 is the prospect of being able to perform as a team. And I really, really think that we're on the path to being able to do that.
Eleanor, you've obviously left, no matter if you were to quit fencing today, you have left a legacy for this sport in this country, in our area. Your accomplishments are incredibly noted at all levels. Now, if I could ask, what you're doing is, as a woman, how does that, as we're seeing so many women's sports right now, and now you're in a kind of a smaller, less recognized sport. Now, you may have the ability to lift fencing as a woman in this country. Does that motivate you?
Yeah, it does, for sure. Something about the future that I think will be a part of my life is coaching, and like continuing to coach. And that's something that's very noticeable. You walk into a men's World Cup and most of the coaches are men. You walk into a women's World Cup and most of the coaches are men. Less so, but still mostly. And I think it's really important to do my best to show that it is a possible like career for women in fencing as they transition to coaching. That is possible. You don't see it a lot in Canada. But I think I would be able to connect and provide my knowledge and experience as like the level of athlete that I am. I know I have a lot to share, and I hope to be able to do that through coaching, through just modeling how I train and how I act in a competitive environment. and just in my day-to-day interactions at the fencing club with all of the younger athletes.
Well, I will say to you, congratulations. Thank you for representing our country. Thank you for representing Hamilton. Thank you for representing as a woman in a sport, like I said, that's growing. I think great things have happened to you, and obviously, in my opinion, great things are still to come. We look forward to tracking your success on the Grand Prix circuit as well, too. I'm so glad that you gave me an answer for 2028, so we're certainly looking forward to whatever happens there and that your qualification all works out. Until then, stay healthy. Good luck in Peru, and when you ever get back to Hamilton, will you join me on the cozy red couch here?
Yeah, totally. I'll let you know when I'm back.
Right on. We really look forward to it. Good luck to you, and thank you for joining us on the Sportsline Podcast. Thank
you so much. It was really nice talking.
Well, that's your pod for the day, folks. And if you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports that are, especially with athletes that are making news worldwide. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline Podcast, you want to hear from you. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. If you do have something to say, we do want to hear it. We appreciate your comments. For the outstanding people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you tomorrow.